All right, ladies and gentlemen of the YouTube citizens, y'all know who this is. This is your boy Dash that you can find out. Back at it with another Throwback Tunes on another Thursday, and we are dealing with Kuruption with a K. It ends with the exclamation point. This is actually Kurupt's debut album right here. This one came out October 6, 1998. It was recorded from 1997 up to 1998. And it was done under, okay, this is interesting, Antra Records and also A&M Records as well. So Antra Records was formed after Kurupt left Death Row Records. So that's pretty interesting as well. So here's another interesting tip. The album was originally supposed to come out on September 1st of the same year, with the album cover even announcing that date. The album was then pushed back to October 6th. So there you go with that. Now, the producers involved, Kurupt was the executive producer of the album. So here's the deal. We got different producers, because this is a double disc album, by the way, which is, I want to say it's rare for a solo artist to come out with a debut album and it be a double disc. I don't know, I could be wrong with that, but check this out. This part is rare though. The producers involved are like, they separated based on the disc. So disc 1 is called West Coast. Disc 2, on the other hand, is called East Coast. So the producers involved in West Coast, disc 1 was Daz Dillinger, Devontae Swing, Battle Cat, Dr. Drake, Kurupt himself, Superfly, Studio Ton, Twin, and Warren G. Now in disc 2, the East Coast, we got Dave Hall, Devontae Swing, again, D. Moet, Easy Mo Beat, Med, RJ Rice, Stevie J, and Storm. So there you go with that. That's some pretty interesting stuff, you ask me. It did make 2 charts. It was number 8 on the top Billboard 200 charts and number 4 on the top R&B/hip hop albums charts. And it looked like it received no certifications at all. But by the end of the year 1998, it was 98 from the US top R&B/hip hop albums charts. So there's that. Now let's go over these 2 discs rather, in all these tracks. So there's a grand total of 23 tracks. None of them are skits or anything like that. So I can give you guys a top 5 and not a top 3. But I would still point out, yo, what's the best track off of each disc? So keep that in mind as well. So let's get on with disc 1, which is West Coast. So the first track is called This One For You, the letter U. Next up is Make Some Noise, N-R-I-Z-E. And that one features Daz Dillinger, even though he didn't produce that one, but okay. Track number 3 is called Put That On Something, featuring Freeze. Next up is Play My Cards, featuring Blackthoven, B-L-A-Q-T-H-O-V-E-N. Track number 5 is actually the only single off this album, and this is a classic right here, folks. We Can Freak It. Yeah, that's right. Featuring Baby S and Andre Wilson. Next up is Fresh, featuring Daz Dillinger, and that one actually produced by him. Track number 7 is called Seawalk, featuring Trey D with 3 E's and Slip Capone. Now, y'all might be familiar with that beat, by the way. So there's that. No music video or anything like that. It's not a single, but y'all might be familiar with that beat, with that track. So if you want to throw it out there. Track number 8 is called Ho's a Housewife, H-O''S, by the way, featuring Fuss and Paul. Then we got Can't Let That Slide, featuring Roscoe. Track number 10 is called That's Gangster, followed by Another Day, featuring Gonzo and Slip Capone. And then we got Ask Yourself a Question, featuring Dr. Dre. So those are the tracks from this one. Now this 2 is East Coast, and there's 11 tracks on this one. Track number 1 is called It's a Setup, followed by Light Shit Up, featuring Buckshot. Track number 3 is called Game, followed by, and this is all one word, Gimme What You Got. Gimmewhutchagot. Gimme What You Got, featuring Barshawn rather. Track number 5 is called If You See Me, featuring Mr. Short Chop with a K, Baby S, L Drex, and Trigger. Yeah, Trigger. I'm about to say Tigger, but no, there's an R there. Track number 6 is called The Life, featuring L Drex again. Track number 7 is called No Feelings, featuring Slop and Patacio. P-A-T-A-C-I-C-O. Track number 8 is called It's Time, featuring Deadly Venoms, followed by I Wanna, featuring Rauki, Royale, Snake, Floyd, and Drea. Then we got Who Do You Be, the letter U, by the way, featuring Selene, Selene. And then we got We Can Freak It East Coast Remix, that part is in parentheses, featuring Noriega and Stevie J, who also produced that track, by the way. So, let's get on with the only single off this album, We Can Freak It. That joint came out sometime in 1998, so there's no actual release date, like a more specific release date, aside from the fact that it came out in 1998, and it was recorded from 1997 to 1998. And yes, there is a music video for this as well, and the single was produced by Battle Cat, and it did make the charts. It was 19th on the US Bubbly on the Hot 100 singles, 89th on the US Hot R&B/Hip Hop Songs charts, 47th on the US R&B/Hip Hop Airplay charts, and 20th on the US Rhythmic charts as well. There you go with that. Again, that is the only single off of this album. There's no other track that had a music video or anything like that. This is it right here. So, let me give you guys my favorite tracks off this album for worst to first. So, I'm gonna warn you right now, on track number 2, who do you be the worst track off the entire album? Never mind this to the entire album. Drum pattern is unique but cool. The tempo is cool. The melody is cool. The bass is straight though. The kick is cool. The snare/clap combos are cool. Overall, the track is cool. Then we got Put That On Something, which is the worst track off of the West Coast album, off of this one. Drum pattern is unique but really cool. Tempo is cool. No melody though. The bass is cool. Kick is cool. The snare is cool. Overall, the track is cool. Then we got I Wanna. The tempo is cool. Melody is really cool. Needs the bass though. The 808s are cool. Snare is really cool. The track is cool. Then we got Can't Let That Slide. Tempo is cool. The melody is unique but cool. The bass is cool. Same with the kick. The snare is really cool. The track is cool as it starts at the 19-second mark. Then we got Make Some Noise. Tempo is cool. Melody is really cool. The bass is cool. Same with the kick. The snare is borderline cool/really cool. The track is cool as it sounds like a beat that Rockefeller would use, you know, the late 90s version of Rockefeller before Kanye joined and Dipset joined, all that stuff. So I'm talking about like Rockefeller when it was Jay, Beans, Bleak, A Million, like when it was just those four. Because I'm not even sure if Freeway was a part of that group yet. So yeah, I'm talking about that version of Rockefeller. So there you go with that. Let's move on. Next up is That's Gangster. The tempo is cool. The melody is borderline cool/really cool. The bass is cool. Same with the kick. The snare is really cool. Overall, the track is cool. Then we got We Can Freak It East Coast Remix. The tempo is cool. The melody is cool/really cool. The bass is cool. The kick is cool/really cool. The snare is really cool. Overall, the track is cool as it sounds like something that the Locks would rap over. It did sound like that. Next up, this one's for you. The tempo is borderline cool/really cool. The melody is cool. The bass is borderline cool/really cool. The kick is cool. The snare is really cool. There's a bit of a pattern with that snare. Overall, the track is cool as it starts at the 47-second mark. And it's almost sound like a Jermaine Dupri beat. He didn't produce this, but it did sound like it was one of his beats. This is. Next up, Play My Cards. The tempo is borderline cool/really cool. The melody is cool/really cool. The bass is cool. The kick is cool/really cool. The snare is cool. Overall, the track is cool. Then we got Game. The tempo is cool. The melody is really cool. The bass is cool. The kick is really cool. The snare is cool. Overall, the track is cool. Then we got It's Time. The tempo is really cool. The melody is cool. The bass is cool. Kick is borderline cool/really cool. The snare, however, is, you guessed it, really cool. Overall, the track is, this is a first. I don't recall I ever said this for any track. I might have, but I don't recall it. But anywho, this track is borderline cool/really cool. Next up is No Feelings. The drum pattern is unique but really cool. The tempo is cool. The melody is really cool. The bass is cool. Same with the kick. The snare is really cool. Overall, the track is borderline cool/really cool. Then we got The Life. The smooth track right here. Tempo is cool. The melody is really cool. The bass is cool. Needs more of it, to be honest. The kick is cool/really cool. The snare is really cool. Overall, the track is, again, borderline cool/really cool. Then we got Ask Yourself a Question. Tempo is cool/really cool. Borderline there. Same with the melody. The bass is cool. The kick is really cool. Same with the snare. Overall, the track is really cool. Then we got Another Day. The tempo is cool. Melody is borderline really cool/excellent. The bass is really cool. The kick is cool/really cool. Snare is cool. Overall, the track is really cool. Then we got Give Me What You Got. The tempo is cool. The melody is really cool. The bass is cool. The kick is really cool. The snare is really cool. Overall, the track is really cool, as it sounds like a Memphis bleak beat, if I do say so myself. And we got next up, Hoes a Housewife. Tempo is borderline cool / really cool. The melody is really cool. The bass is cool. The kick is really cool. The snare is really cool. Overall, the track is really cool, actually. So there you go with that. Now let's get on with the next one, which is, actually, this is the third best track off of the West Coast this one version of this album, and it's C-Walk. The tempo is cool. The melody is really cool. The same with the bass. The kick is borderline cool / really cool. The snare is really cool. Overall, the track is really cool. Now for the top 5 tracks off this album. Fifth best track off this album, and the second best track off of the Disc 1 West Coast album, and that, or version of this album rather, and that is Fresh. The tempo is cool. The melody is cool. The bass is really cool. Same with the kick and the snare. Overall, the track is really cool. Fourth best track off this album, and the third best track off of the East Coast version of this album, and that is If You See Me. The tempo is really cool. Same with the melody. The bass is cool. The kick is borderline cool / really cool. The snare is, you guessed it, really cool. Overall, the track is really cool. The best track off this album, and the best track off of the West Coast version of this album, and that is We Can Freak It. Obviously, come on now. We Can Freak It. The best track off of Disc 1, the West Coast version of this album. This is a classic, like I said. The tempo is cool. The melody is really cool. Same with the bass. The kick is cool / really cool. The snare is really cool. Overall, this track is really cool. So again, this is the best track off of Disc 1, the West Coast version. Second best track off the entire album, Light Shit Up. And obviously, this is the second best track off of Disc 2, East Coast version. Tempo is borderline cool / really cool. The melody is really cool. Same with the bass and the kick and the snare. Overall, the track is really cool. Now, the number 1 track off of not just the Disc 2 East Coast version, but the entire double disc album as a whole, is A Setup. The tempo is really cool. Same with the melody and the bass. The kick is cool / really cool. The snare is, you guessed it, really cool. Overall, the track is really cool. So It's A Setup is the best track off of the entire album. Both discs, doesn't matter. It's A Setup is the best track off this album. Let's look at some professional ratings. AllMusic gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. Los Angeles Times gave it 2.5 out of 4 stars. Rolling Stones gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. The Source gave it the same thing, 3.5 out of 5 stars. USA Today gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars, and this is new. Vibe gave it critical. I have no clue what that means. What do you mean by critical? I have no clue what that means, but whatever. What do I think about this album? I'll be honest. This is really, like, this is a good album. This is a really, really good album. There's, like, obviously we got We Can Freak It, which is a classic. Light Shit Up is A Setup. Those 3, without question, the best 3 tracks off this album. There's a lot of good tracks on here. Like I said, like, really the top 6 are really, you should listen to without question. I'm going to give this album a 4.25 out of 5. So even though there are some classics in this album, but there's nothing here that screams legendary for me. So that's why I'm going to give it a 4.25 out of 5. I recommend you download it at the very least and you keep it. So yeah, 4.25 out of 5 stars for this one. And I'm going to call it a wrap. So with all that said, y'all know who this is. This is boy New J Gatsby, aka the new Stephen A. Smith, saying peace out, y'all, and I'll see y'all next time. Yeah.